Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the Daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 6th as well as 7th March 2023, brought to you by Ganesh IAS Academy. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. Mentioned here are the list of articles which we are going to have the analysis in the upcoming slides. So have a look into it. Okay, let's analyze every article one by one. So these are all the articles which we are going to analyze. So we will look into these articles or the analysis of the article one by one in the upcoming slides. Fourth mass coral reef bleaching event soon. What NOAA has said, that is US Oceanic Agency has said that the world is moving towards the fourth mass bleaching because of the heat stress that has been experienced throughout the global level for the past few years. So this is the reason why it has appeared in news. Okay, let's look into what is coral, what is the coral bleaching, and what impact it creates in the upcoming slides. Before that, we will look into the relation of the news with the examination. Under prelims, the news is related to general issues on environment, ecology, biodiversity, climate change that does not require any kind of subject specialization. Similarly, under mains, it has been related with conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment. So this is the reason why the news is very important from the perspective of prelims. Okay, let's look into the details of the news. So United Nations National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrative Agency, that is in short form NOAA, what it has said is that the world is in the verge of fourth mass coral bleaching event that could see wide stretches of tropic reef going to die. So it includes the part of the Australia's Great Barrier Reef, and it triggered by the heat stress which was experienced by the global level for the past few years. And this coral bleaching occurs when the coral expels the colorful algae that is living in their tissues. Without this algae, the coral becomes pale and vulnerable to starvation and diseases, so they will be leading to huge death. And it can be devastating for the ocean ecosystem as well. Why? Because see, in ecosystem, every part of the everything in the environment is connected with the other thing. For example, the coral reef will have a benefit towards the fishes, and then if the fishes and the fishes production is going to increase because of the coral, means surely the fishing related industries and then the tourism related industries will be developing along with it, which will have an impact if the coral bleaching is going to occur means. And then the colorful reef, for example, how it will be affecting the tourists is, these kind of colorful reef will be attracting the scuba divers, snorkelers. These are some of the tourism related activities, and there are many other activities which also will get affected. And the last global mass coral bleaching event occurred during the 2014 to 2017 time period, during which the Great Barrier Reef has lost around the 1.3 of its coral, and the previous coral bleaching event occurred in 2010 and 1998. For event to deemed as global, the widespread bleaching must occur in 3 ocean basins, so which is very important from the perspective of prelims: the Atlantic, Pacific as well as the Indian Ocean. If the bleaching is going to occur in all the three ocean basins, means then this scenario will be considered as the global scenario. And the scientists assess the sea surface temperature data and then the satellite imagery to determine whether the reef pixels are passing the key threshold of bleaching or not. And then to merit a global mass bleaching event, a certain percentage of reef pixel need to reveal a level of the threat. Need to reveal the level of heat stress in the ocean basin. So this is what the thing with regards to the coral bleaching is about. So what is the causes for this coral bleaching apart from the heat stress? Yes, it is because of the change in ocean temperature, because of the increased climate change, and then runoff as well as the pollution will also have a huge impact on the algae that is present in the coral, and it also has impact on the ocean acidification process. And then overexposure to sunlight and then extremely low tides is also a reason for the mass coral bleaching. These are all the reasons apart from the heat stress. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of what is ecosystem, what are all the different types of ecosystem. In that we should be aware of the aquatic ecosystem and the linkage of every creature as in it. Secondly, we should be aware of what is ozone atmosphere is about, and then we should be aware of biodiversity, the definition of it, and then the significance of it. So these are all the things which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Why Lakshadweep base INS Jatayu matters? So the news is related to a recent base in the Lakshadweep for the Indian Navy has been elevated to the naval base, that is the INS Jatayu, because of which the increased level of the military related infrastructural activities is going to be seen there. So that is the reason why it appeared in newspaper. Okay, let's look into the relation of the news with the examination. Under prelims, the news is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains, it has been related with GS paper 3, economic and development, through a subtopic called infrastructure, energy, ports, roadways, railways, airports, etc. So this is how the news has been related with examination. Okay, let's look into the details of the news. So the naval detachment, which is present in the Minicoy island of the Lakshadweep, is going to be commissioned as the INS Jatayu, that is the naval base for the Navy, which is the upgraded naval base. And it marks the important milestone in the India's navies to resolve the incrementally augment the security infrastructure to start to ensure the Indian Ocean is from the dominance of any specific countries. So towards this only, this activity is moving towards the objective. The objective of the elevation of this attachment to the naval base is towards this objective only. And then India has a naval detachment in Minicoy on the southern, which is the southernmost atoll of archipelago, that is the Lakshadweep, since 1980s. This INS Jatayu will effectively be the country's second naval base in the Lakshadweep, and the Navy's first naval base is on the islands is named as INS Dweep Prakshak, which is in Kavaratti, and it was commissioned during 2012. So technically, it is the second naval base which is going to be located in the Lakshadweep. And then this INS Jatayu will be commissioned day after India and Mauritius jointly inaugurated an airstrip and jetty that India has built on the Mauritius island of Agaliga of the coast of Africa in the Western Indian Ocean. So these are all, as I said, these development of naval infrastructure in the atoll of archipelago, that is in Lakshadweep, and at the same time the building up of airstrip and the jetty in the Mauritius is towards the containing the dominance of a specific country in the Indian Ocean, so that the sovereignty as well as the safe passage towards the Indian Ocean will be maintained. And what does the Lakshadweep island is about? It is an archipelago of 36 islands which is located between 220 km and then 440 km from Kochi, and the highlands only 11 of which are inhabited, which has a total area of 32 square kilometer. And the Lakshadweep are part of chain of coralline islands in the Indian Ocean that includes Maldives to the south, and then Chagos archipelago in the farther beyond. And given their location in the Indian Ocean, this Lakshadweep island are of huge strategic importance to India, as I said, to maintain sovereignty as well as integrity, to maintain the international rules and regulations, and also at the same time maintain the safe passage in the Indian Ocean, means this island is very important for the India's strategic point of view. And the Minicoy straddles vital sea line of communication. What it is the world's main maritime highway, which includes 8-degree channel between Minicoy and Maldives, and then 9-degree channel between Minicoy and the cluster of Lakshadweep island. So this is what the importance of it. And what does this INS Jatayu naval base is about is the existing naval detachment which is present in Minicoy under operational command of naval officer in charge will be commissioned as an INS Jatayu, and a naval detachment has administrative, logistics, and then medical facilities only. But the INS Jatayu, which will be upgraded to the naval base, will have additional infrastructures like airfield, housing, as well as personal related thing. And there are plans to construct a new airfield that will be capable of operating the military as well as civilian aircraft. So this is what the INS Jatayu naval base is about. So teeth to naval operation, why it is? So the basing of the Indian independent unit with requisite infrastructure as well as the resource will enhance the overall operational capacity of the navy in the island. And the establishment of the base is in line with government's focus on comprehensive development of the island. And then the base will enhance its operational reach, facilitate the anti-piracy, anti-narcotics in Western Arabian as well as augment its capabilities as the first respond in the region. So these are all the objectives apart from the objectives which we have discussed in the previous slides with regards to the INS Jatayu above. So with the commissioning of INS Jatayu, the Navy will add to its strength in the western seaboard. So the proposed airfield will allow operation of a range of aircraft which includes P-89 maritime reconnaissance aircraft, fighter jet, and then extended Navy's reach and operational surveillance capability at a time when India is seeking to counter the Chinese influence in the Indian Ocean region. So this is what the other objective which we have discussed in the previous slide with regards to the INS Jatayu is about, and this is what the news is about. The analysis of the India's second naval base is about. So what are the things which we needed to be further aware of? We should be aware of India Maldives relation and Andaman Nicobar Island, and then we should be aware of what is theatre command in the Indian Army. So these are all the things which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Shehbaz orders talk with IMF to tide over Pakistan crisis. So because Pakistan is right now facing a huge economic crisis, the newly elected Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz, has requested or ordered the government to the administration to talk with the IMF to tide over the economic crisis that is prevailing in Pakistan. So this is what the news is about. First, we will look into the relation of the news with the examination. Under prelims, the news is related to current events of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under mains, it is being related with India and its neighborhood relations, which comes under JS paper 2, international relations. So this is how the news has been related with examination. Pakistan PM has ordered for immediate talks with IMF for an extended fund facilities for the cash-strapped country, and Pakistan has received over 700 million second tranche from the IMF under the existing USD 3 billion arrangement, and the Pakistan has not completed the last $6.5 billion IMF bailout package, and therefore the first task is to get the last loan tranche of the US $1.2 billion from the IMF. So this is what the details of the news is about. Let's look into what is the causes for the economic crisis in the Pakistan. Because of the Russian-Ukraine war and its impact in the other economic activities at the global level, it had huge impact in terms of Pakistan because of increased import price, increased energy price, and also because of which it led to increased inflation, which in turn had lead to reduction in the money's depreciation in the value of the money. These are all the things combinedly led to reduction or the drastic decline of Pakistan economy. Secondly, it led to excessive external borrowing because of deficit in the economy for financing the expenditure. Pakistan borrowings has increased during this time. Thirdly, high inflation, as I said, because of huge amount of imported inflation because of the Russian-Ukraine war led to increased domestic inflation, and also other governance related activities also contributed to the increased inflation. Fourthly, low productivity among the economy, and then poor governance, rampant corruption and retapism, and increased regulatory in terms of trade as well as the other activities which requires liberalized regulation. These are all the things which has led to drastic decline in the economic of Pakistan. So what is the impact does it creates in the Pakistan is, so right now Pakistan is facing balance of payment crisis, and then the currency depreciation has increased. Finally, it has led to inflation and then economic instability. So these are all the things, these are all the causes and the impact of the economic crisis in the Pakistan. So what is the issue in the IMF bailout is, see, because of the increased conditionality, it is hard for the developing countries to access the credit from the global financial institutions like IMF and World Bank, and then it will be reducing the moral hazards of the country because of the increased interference of the global institution in the local governance, and then debt sustainability is the issue. Because if a country is going to depend morely on the global financial institution for its bailout packages, means then there that country will not most of the time will not be doing the reformation activities in their governance related activities to avoid the future economic crisis like this. They will not be doing like that. So if it will have a mindset that whenever we are going to have the economic crisis, then there will be a global financial institution which is going to bail out. Such kind of thinking will increase the debt sustainability in the economy itself, and then the political interference. Because of the IMF and the World Bank are mostly dominated by the US as well as European Union, borrowing from this institution will have interference of these countries in the local politics of the Pakistan, not only in Pakistan, in any other developing countries. So these are all the issues in the IMF bailout package. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of the structure, function as well as objective of IMF and World Bank, and then we should be aware of United Nations General Agency. Thirdly, we should be aware of the Sri Lankan economic crisis. What is the reason for it? What is the impact it created? And what is the activities that was, what is the thing that the Sri Lankan government has done to tide over the economic crisis which it had faced. So these are all the things which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Methane sat. Recently, United Nations private organization has launched the satellite which is dedicated to measure the methane emission in the global level. So this is the reason why it appeared in newspaper. Okay, let's look into what is methane sat and what is the purpose of it, and what is the advantages it holds, and how it is different from the conventional satellite which is also being launched to measure the pollution level at the global level. So first we will look into the relation of the news with the examination. Under prelims, the news was related to general science. Similarly, under mains, it has been related with awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotech, biotech, and issues relating to IPR. So this is how the news has been related with the examination. A washing machine sized satellite which will be tracking and measure the methane emission on the global scale was launched on board on the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. So methane is the worst widespread gas after carbon dioxide. Its atmospheric concentration has more than doubled in the last couple of centuries. This increase is responsible for 30% of the climate warming since the Industrial Revolution. And over the period of 20 years, methane is about 80 times more potent at warming than carbon dioxide according to the United Nations Environmental Programme. And the methane also contributes to the formation of ground level ozone, exposure to which could be contributing to million premature death every year. And then it is crucial to cut methane emission from their sources. So that is the reason why this methane sat has been launched, to identify the sources of the methane emission. The fossil fuel operation, which accounts for about 80% of the all human caused methane emission, is one of the major important source for the methane pollution that is been arising or the rising at the global level. And what are all the other sources that is responsible for causing of the methane pollution will also be identified by the methane sat. And then what is this methane sat? Okay, we have talked about methane and the detriment, what kind of detriment it holds at the global level. And let's look into what does this methane sat is about. The entity behind the methane sat is the Environmental Defense Fund, which is the US non-profit environmental advocacy. And the methane sat will orbit around the earth 15 times a day, which monitors the oil and the gas sector. And it will generate data that will show how much methane is coming from where and who is responsible and who are those emissions are going up or down. So these are all the various matrices of the data will be given by the methane sat, and this methane sat data will be made public for free in the real time, and this will allow the stakeholders as well as regulators to take action to reduce the methane emission or the sources which is responsible for the methane emission. So this is what the methane sat is about, and this is what the advantage of the methane sat is about. So where does the methane sat score? So how it is different from the other satellite which is responsible for measuring the pollution level. See, tracking the source of methane emission and measuring them has presented a challenge. Why? Because the satellite that can provide high resolution data can often only scan specific and pre-targeted sites, not the broader and the generic sites. But others can examine larger areas and detect large emitting events, but not smaller sources that account for majority of emissions which is responsible for majority of emissions. Due to this limitation across different types of satellite, the global methane emission are about 70% higher level as reported by the national government. And then the methane sat is expected to fix this bug which has been prevailing in the other different types of satellites. And the methane sat also has wide camera view of about 200 km by 200 km, which will allow it to identify larger, the so-called the super emitters. So this is a speciality of the methane sat when compared to the other satellite which is also responsible for measuring the pollution levels. And the collected data, as I said, will be analyzed using cloud computing and AI technology developed by Google. The company is the mission partner in it, and it will be available to the public, and also it will be accessible to the policymakers as well as the other private organization to regulate the pollution level that is arised from their organization. It will ensure that the policies are more inclusive because of the precise data that will be available because of the methane sat. So what are the things which we needed to be further aware of is, we should be aware of what is United Nations Framework for Conventional Climate Change, what is Panchamrit, that is the India promise at the global level, and what are all the different types of renewable schemes is about. Schemes in India is about with regards to the promotion of renewable energies, and what is the current level of India's energy mix, and which country is main contributor for the India's import of crude oil. So these are all the things which we needed to be further aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Unemployment rate drops to 3.1% in 2023 according to periodic labor force survey. Let's look into the relation of the news with the examination. Under prelims, the news is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains, it has been related with GS paper 3 economic and development through a subtopic called Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment. So this is how the news has been related with examination. So unemployment rate for a person aged 15 years or above has declined to 3.1% in 2023, the lowest in the last 3 years as per report of NSSO under Statistics Ministry. According to periodic labor force survey, the unemployment rate came down to 3.1% in 2023 from 3.6% in 22 and 4.2% in 21. So this is what the data that has been brought out by the periodic labor force survey with regards to the unemployment rate is about. So let's look into what is this periodic labor force survey is about. So National Statistical Office has launched BPL periodic labor force survey in April 2017, and it has launched to estimate the key employment as well as unemployment indicators, that is the worker population ratio, labor force participation rate, unemployment rate. So these are all the indicators which will be measured by the labor force survey, and it will be measured at the shorter interval period of 3 months for the urban area only in current weekly status to estimate the employment as well as the unemployment indicators in both usual status as well as the current weekly status in both urban as well as rural areas annually. So this is the objective under which it has been brought, and these are all the indicators under which these are all the indicators the periodic labor force survey will be measuring. And this survey is conducted by the National Statistical Survey under Ministry of Statistics as well as program implementation. So this is what the periodic labor force survey is about, and this is the details with regards to the labor force survey is about. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of the unemployment scheme and labor department and what is the role of it. Thirdly, we should be aware of the schemes for the women development. So these are all the things which we needed to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's move on to practice prelims question. Mentioned here is the today's practice prelims question. So those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. So with this, we have reached the end of today's session. Please do like, comment, share as well as subscribe Ganesh IAS YouTube channel so that you will be receiving daily current affairs session notification and also weekly environmental as well as science and tech notification, and also any other important notification with regards to the civil service examination and also any other competitive examination that will be brought to you in the future by Ganesh IAS Academy. Thank you.